The sky was on fire. Commander Varric sprinted through the falling rubble as the alarm screamed across Outpost Sigma. Red plasma bolts tore through the air, scorching walls and men alike. The barbarians were here, without warning, without mercy. Move! Get to the transports! Varric shouted, pulling a wounded soldier to his feet. Panic crashed over the Terran troops as enemy gunships roared overhead, raining death on everything that moved. This was supposed to be a peace zone. The treaty was still warm from signing. But the barbarians had lied. They always lied. A blast shattered the landing pad ahead. Varric dove, dragging the soldier with him as flames roared past his back. His earpiece crackled with desperate voices. "Commander, we've lost Bay 3. Bay 4's gone." "They're everywhere." Varric's jaw clenched. "Then we fight our way to Bay 2. They've overrun it. Then we make them pay for every step." His boots slammed against the steel floor as he led the charge. Plasma fire lit the halls. Soldiers fell. Friends screamed. The enemy kept coming, giants in bone armor, their war cries shaking the walls. This wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. Varric's pulse hammered in his skull. He didn't care about the treaty anymore. There was no peace. Only war. And if they wanted war, they'd get it. Smoke choked the tunnels. Commander Varric wiped blood from his face and kept running. Behind him, the walls shook with heavy footfalls. The barbarians were hunting them, close, fast, and merciless. "Don't stop," Varric barked to his squad. "Move, now." Private Keller stumbled, clutching his burnt arm. Varric spun back, grabbed his vest, and hauled him forward. "I said, don't stop." Gunfire roared behind them. Plasma bolts hissed past Varric's head, searing holes in the steel walls. One shot clipped Keller's leg. He went down hard. "Go without me," Keller gasped. Varric yanked him up. "We don't leave our own." The squad crashed through a blast door, sealing it just as the barbarian warriors slammed into it from the other side. The door groaned under their brutal strength. It wouldn't hold for long. Routes blocked ahead. A soldier shouted, "We're trapped!" Varric scanned the cracked tunnel map on his wrist. One way out. It wasn't safe. It wasn't even stable. "This way," he ordered, sprinting into an old maintenance shaft barely big enough to crawl through. The walls trembled as the barbarians pounded the blast door. The squad crawled fast, scraping against jagged metal. Sparks fell from above. Explosions rocked the base behind them. The door was breaking. Varric gritted his teeth. "They're not taking us today. Keep moving." Behind them, the door finally gave way. The barbarians were coming. Commander Varric slammed his fist on the war table. "You knew," he growled, his voice sharp and cold. "You knew they would attack." The Terran High Council sat in silence, their faces blank behind golden screens. Chancellor Rin cleared his throat. "We had indications the treaty might not hold." "Might not hold?" Varric's eyes burned with rage. "You sent us there to die." Another counselor leaned forward, voice calm like he wasn't speaking over the screams of Varric's fallen soldiers. "Your squad delayed the enemy long enough to fortify the inner colonies. You served your purpose." Varric's jaw tightened. He could still hear Keller's screams, still see the fire swallowing his men. "Served your purpose like they were pawns on a board. You used us. You are soldiers," the Chancellor said flatly. "You follow orders." Varric stepped closer to the table. His fists trembled. "I signed that treaty. I shook their leader's hand. And the barbarians used that hand to gut you," the Chancellor snapped. "This is war. Sentiment doesn't win wars." Varric's stare could have cut steel. "No. But I will." The council dismissed him like he was nothing. Varric stormed out, his heart pounding with one cold, brutal truth. The war was never meant to end. The council knew it, the barbarians knew it, but now Varric knew it too, and he would make them all pay. The barbarian prisoner spat blood on the floor, but laughed through broken teeth. "You don't understand, human," he growled. "You never did." Commander Varric tightened his grip on the prisoner's collar. "Why did you attack? We gave you peace. You wanted this war." The barbarian's black eyes burned with ancient hate. "Peace? You stole our worlds. You buried our ancestors beneath your cities. Our war isn't about land, it's about debt. A blood debt." Varric shoved him against the wall. "That was centuries ago. None of us were alive when that happened." "It does not matter," the barbarian hissed. "In our history, blood never dries. Your republic is built on our bones. And now you will drown in the cost." Varric's stomach twisted. They weren't here to conquer. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to erase humanity. The cell door slammed shut as Varric walked out, the barbarian's laughter still echoing behind him. In the briefing room, his officers waited, faces pale and tense. "They don't want our land," Varric said, his voice low and dangerous. "They want us gone, all of us." The room fell. Silent. "This isn't a battle. It's extermination." Captain Dren stepped forward. "How do we fight that?" Varric's eyes turned hard. "We fight to make them remember us. We fight to make them regret it." And they would. Commander Varric stared at the black vault door. It was sealed, untouched for over a century. On its surface, one word glowed red: "Forbiddance." "You're really going to open it?" Captain Dren asked, her voice tight. "We don't have a choice," Varric said, typing the ancient override codes. "The barbarians won't stop until we're wiped out. We need something they can't fight." The vault hissed open. Cold mist poured out. Inside, buried under layers of locks and warning signs, was humanity's most terrible weapon project, HELL-STRIKE. It wasn't a bomb. It was worse. A black star core capable of collapsing entire planets, creating localized singularities, and tearing star systems apart. It had been banned by every human government, buried to keep it from ever being used again. Until now. Dren's voice trembled. "We promised never to touch this again, even in the worst wars." Varric's eyes didn't leave the glowing core. "This is the worst war." A tech officer stepped forward. "Sir, it's unstable. We could destroy ourselves just trying to move it." Varric finally looked at his team. His voice was steel. "We either die running, or we die fighting with every weapon we've got." The room fell silent. "Prep the core," he ordered. "We use it. Or we lose everything." No one argued. The line was gone. The rules were gone. The only thing left was survival. And now, humanity would fight like nothing was left to lose. The Terran defense lines crumbled like dry sand. Commander Varric watched the enemy fleets tear through space like a storm of fire. "Hold the outer colonies," he shouted over the roar of alarms. But even his voice felt small against the chaos. Planets burned. Cities fell. The barbarians pushed forward with brutal force, leaving nothing but ashes. Varric led a squadron of fighters on hit-and-run raids, desperate to slow the enemy's advance. His ship dodged plasma blasts, engines screaming as they streaked through exploding debris. "We can't outrun them forever," Lieutenant Mara said, her voice tight. Varric nodded. "Then we make sure they pay for every mile." On the ground, human soldiers fought in ruined streets, firing at shadowy giants in bone armor. Each battle was a bloodbath, a nightmare painted in fire and steel. Civilians fled, leaving homes and memories behind. Varric's heart ached with every scream over the coms. "We're losing worlds, but not hope," he said. "We fight. We survive. We push back." The war wasn't just a fight for land anymore. It was a fight for humanity's soul. Varric clenched his fists, staring into the burning horizon. The line was broken. The world was burning, but they would fight on, because surrender wasn't an option. The ground trembled before the warfather arrived. Soldiers froze, eyes wide with fear. This was no ordinary barbarian leader. He was a living nightmare. Clad in ancient bone armor, twice the size of a man, the Warfather's heavy footsteps shattered the earth. His glowing red eyes burned like dying stars, full of rage and fury. Varric watched from the command deck, his jaw tight. They've unleashed their ultimate weapon. The Warfather roared, raising a massive warhammer that cracked the air. With a single swing, he crushed an entire squadron of human fighters like toys. "Hold the line!" Varric shouted, rallying his troops. But even the best soldiers faltered under the Warfather's assault. The beast moved through the battlefield, unstoppable, tearing ships from the sky, smashing tanks beneath his feet, breaking morale with every strike. Varric clenched his fists. This wasn't just a war anymore. It was a massacre. "We need a plan." "Fast," Captain Dren said, her voice shaking. Varric's eyes burned with resolve. "We stop him, or humanity falls." The Warfather was the face of destruction. But he had a weakness, and Varric intended to find it before it was too late. The plan was madness. Varric knew it. But so was losing everything. "Listen carefully," he told his team in the dim briefing room. "We lure the Warfather into the Aegis system, a collapsing star. One shot from the Hellstrike core there could end him." Captain Dren swallowed hard. "A suicide mission, sir." Varric's eyes never wavered. "If this fails, humanity dies. If it works, we still might survive." The warlord was unstoppable in open battle. But a collapsing star was unpredictable, a weapon as dangerous to friend as foe. "Timing is everything," Varric said. "We have one shot. One chance to kill the Warfather and turn the tide." The crew nodded, fear and determination mingling in their eyes. Varric gripped the console. "Prepare the Hellstrike core. We go in fast, strike hard, and get out, if we can." Outside, the stars flickered as the ship jumped toward death. No one spoke. They all knew the price. But Varric's voice broke the silence. "For humanity. For our future." And with that, they plunged into the heart of the collapsing star, their last gamble. "Detonate. Now." Varric's voice was calm but deadly. The Warfather's massive form loomed closer, smashing through the last human defenses. The black star core hummed in the ship's heart, its power ready to rip the galaxy apart. Shields flickered. Warning alarms screamed. The collapsing star's gravity clawed at the ship like a beast trying to tear it apart. "Hold together." Varric shouted, "We have seconds." The crew gripped their stations, sweat dripping as the countdown ticked down. The Warfather roared, raising his hammer for one final strike. Varric's hand hovered over the detonator. "Now!" he yelled. A burst of impossible energy exploded outward. Starfire at zero range. The core collapsed, swallowing everything in a blinding void. The Warfather's scream was cut off mid-roar. Silence followed. When the light faded, only wreckage floated in the void. Varric exhaled, trembling but alive. They had won, but at what cost? The wreckage drifted silently in the cold dark of space. Varric stared out the shattered viewport, the weight of victory crushing his soul. They had survived. The Warfather was dead. The Forbidden's weapon had saved humanity, but the cost was written in every broken star, every lost life. "War isn't over," Varric said quietly, turning to his weary crew. "They'll come back. And next time, we have to be ready." "Captain." Dren nodded. Peace was a lie. Varric clenched his fists. "We fight, we survive. We protect what's left." Behind them, distant stars twinkled, indifferent witnesses to mankind's endless struggle. The galaxy was vast, full of threats, full of darkness, but humanity's fire still burned. And as long as it did, the fight would never end, because peace was never the natural state of man, only war.